Wanted to go over a topic today that everyone's talking about, driver distance. We've all seen the transformation that Bryson DeChambeau's done to his body to hit incredible distances out on the PGA Tour. But I wanted to go over the facts of how to hit the ball a long way and offer a couple of tips to help you hit one of these further than you ever have before without having to lift one of these. So let's start where we always do when we're coaching or fitting here at Broadstone and look at what we need to do to the ball, to get it to do what we want it to do. And this is before looking at technique, fitness, strength, which of course is all related. We need to understand the three important factors that will decide whether this ball goes as far as you can possibly hit it. So what are these three factors? The first and most obvious one is going to be ball speed. So ball speed is directly influenced by clubhead speed and by impact location. So if we swing the club simply faster and we get the ball coming out the middle of the club face, we're going to transmit more energy into the ball and the ball's going to go further. Once we maximize ball speed, we need to launch the ball correctly. And this means matching up the correct launch angle, which is typically 12 to 16 degrees, depending on the speed that you swing the club, with the optimal spin rate, which is going to be somewhere between 1600 to 2500 RPM. Typically, we'll see most amateurs will spin the ball too much and create a ball flight where the ball rises up too much rather than going forwards. And that's down to a combination of factors that we'll go into now. So there are three things in your swing that we look to optimize to create those correct launch conditions. And that's going to be attack angle, the loft you have on the club, your dynamic loft coming into the ball, and your impact location. Typically, we want to see you hitting up on the ball rather than hitting down. Hitting down creates too much spin, launches the ball too low. If you have too much loft on the club when you come into the ball's going to create too much spin and you're going to get that rising ball flight rather than the ball going forward. And then hitting the middle of the face is important in all of these points. One, to transfer that energy into the ball, but also the higher you hit the ball on the club face, the more actual lofted the club is at that point. And the lower you hit it on the club face, the lower the loft is and the ball's going to go low and spin too high. Have a look at these two swings where club head speed is pretty much the same. One where I'm hitting down on the ball's going to launch low, spin too high, and then I'm going to hit up on the ball in order to launch the ball higher, spin it lower, and get the ball to go further. So you can see on this swing that I've hit down on the ball 1.8 degrees with a decent amount of club head speed at 111, and the ball's launched very low at 8 degrees with a reasonably high spin rate of 2,700. So what that's doing is it's creating an impact factor where the ball is going to launch low, it's going to rise up, and I could get much more distance if I was hitting up and launching it higher and the spin was lower. An example of which is this swing where the club head speed is the same, got 111 mile an hour again. The ball speed is actually a little slower, but because I've hit up on the ball, the attack angle is 3 degrees up. It's launched the ball up towards more optimal numbers, being 11.5 degrees, with a spin rate under 2,000. So that then jumps up the carry distance, the ball's hitting the right peak height, it's going forward instead of spinning up into the air, and then we get over that magic 300-yard number. So this is a good example of being able to increase the distance that you're hitting overall without actually increasing your club head speed. So a couple of tips to do this. One, quite simply, if you had a keen eye, you would see when I hit up on the ball, I was using an orange tee. When I was hitting down on the ball, I was using a pink tee. So I was actually lowering the tee height when I was hitting down on the ball and then lifting the tee height up in order to encourage me to hit up on the ball. The other thing you can do is you can widen your stance, which is going to allow you to tilt your shoulders a little bit more. And what that's going to enable you to do is to get the low point of your swing further back, which then means that as the club hits the ball, the club's moving on more of an upward attack angle. So both of those will help to launch the ball higher, spin it a little bit lower, and get you extra distance without actually having to increase your club head speed. So in order to actually increase club head speed, going to focus on 2 points. Going to be your rotational speed, rotational acceleration, and the width of your swing, the radius between you and the club head. So both can be improved by improving your fitness levels, increasing your strength, using the ground a little bit more, which is a huge topic that we could go into. Or we can increase flexibility, which is going to help us get a wider, longer swing. So I'm going to mention 2 tips to help with these points. The first is to improve your rotational speed. And it's going against the most overused tip I've ever heard. In fact, in my opinion, it's kept golf pros in business for many a year. And that's the thought of keep your eye on the ball and keep your head down. So if I do a quick swing here where I keep my head down and I swing through, really difficult, actually impossible for me to actually rotate my body. Straight away I'm restricting the speed that I'm able to produce when I'm coming into the ball. So actually what I would recommend is when you do next get out and hit a few drives, is actually really try and watch the ball flight. As soon as the ball leaves the club face, you're going to let your body rotate and face where it's gone. That way you're actually freeing up that body rotation and increasing the speed as that club is coming down into the ball. The second tip is going to be more for the width of your swing. So if you looked at the videos of me swinging the club in the previous shots, you'll see that I actually come up off my left heel for a right-hander, so my front heel. If you think of the most successful player who's ever lived, Jack Nicklaus, and picture him at the top of his swing, who always came up off his heel. What that does is it allows him to actually increase the radius of his swing. Gets his arms up higher, gets wider, and obviously also rotates a little bit further. So by keeping your foot planted on the ground, again, you're restricting that rotation and restricting that potential range of motion that you have, which is in turn is going to make that swing narrower and less efficient as you're coming down into the ball. Another way of increasing that radius is quite simply to lengthen your golf club. So I'm sure you'll have heard of this being experimented with on tour, getting up to a 48-inch driver. So we thought we'd actually experiment with this, and Barry made up a 48-inch shaft. So you're going to see a couple of shots here that I hit where I've extended the length of the club, that's extended my radius, and you'll see the speed then jumps up a few miles an hour, which is huge. That's going to result in an extra 10-15 yards of distance. The issue becomes that it's then going to be very difficult to find the middle of the club face. So if you're then sacrificing where that impact location is, you're not transferring that extra speed into the ball, which is simply why golf club manufacturers don't do this for the mass market, because it's very, very difficult to time hitting the middle of that club face with that length of swing. But have a little look at how I get on with a 48-inch driver, and you can see actually if you spent a bit of time and you got your eye in and you got used to the different weight and feel of the club and did enough practice, it actually is a potential route that you'll see some of the top tour guys will go down.